The December 8th, 2021 meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals is now in session. Good evening and welcome to this meeting of the Arlington Board of Zoning Appeals, which is also known as the BZA. I am Inta Malice, Chair of the Board. The Board is made up of 5 citizens appointed by the Circuit Court. Tonight, in addition to myself, we have Vice Chair Paul Melnick and members Judy Freshman and Portia Clark. Also present is the professional staff, including Blake Bowen, Board of Zoning Appeals Coordinator, Meg Ryan, BZA Associate Planner, Stephen Rizzi, the Zoning Prim Supervisor, and Patty Petrosini, Assistant to the BZA. Thank you for joining us this evening. For the safety of board members, county staff, applicants, and participating community members, we are meeting in a virtual format this evening, and all participants are joining the meeting remotely. We are legally authorized to hold this virtual meeting based on the governor's executive orders, legislation adopted by the Virginia General Assembly, and the Arlington County Board's Continuity of Operations Ordinance adopted in March of 2020. Before we call our first case, I will share with you some general information about the Board of Zoning Appeals and then some ground rules on how we will conduct our virtual meeting tonight. The board's powers are prescribed in the Code of Virginia and are set out in further detail in the county's zoning ordinance adopted by the county board. The Board of Zoning Appeals does not have the power to rezone property or to amend the regulations set forth in the ordinance. That authority rests with the county board. This board does have the authority to do 3 things. 1, we can approve use permits that allow modifications of placement requirements of structures on 1- and 2-family lots where there is no option in the zoning ordinance to allow such modifications. 2, we can grant variances from the specific requirements of the zoning ordinance. And 3, we can decide appeals of decisions of the zoning administrator. When approving use permits, the Board of Zoning Appeals may impose conditions that it deems necessary in the public interest, including limiting the duration of the use permit. In order to approve a use permit, the law requires that the board find that the proposal meets certain conditions and that the proposal will not adversely affect the health or safety of persons residing in the neighborhood, will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to property or improvements in the neighborhood, and will not be in conflict with the purposes of the master plans and land use and zoning related policies of the county. To do this, the BZA shall consider, number 1, whether modifications will promote compatibility of development with the surrounding neighborhood because the structure's overall footprint, size, and placement are similar to structures on properties surrounding the lot in question. And 2, whether the modification will help preserve natural landform, historical features, and/or significant trees and foliage. When granting variances, the burden of proof is on the applicant to prove by preponderance of evidence that the improvements meet the following criteria. Whether the strict application of the ordinance would unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property or that granting the variance would alleviate a hardship due to a physical condition relating to the property or improvements thereon at the time of the effective date of the ordinance. Whether the granting of their variance would alleviate a hardship by granting a reasonable modification to a property or improvement thereon requested by or on behalf of a person with a disability, and whether the property for which the variance is being requested was acquired in good faith and any hardship was not created by the applicant. The board also considers whether the variance granted will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property and nearby properties in the proximity of the geographic area. That the condition or situation of the property concerned is not so general or recurring in nature as to make it reasonably practical for the adoption of an amendment to the ordinance. That the granting of the variance will not result in a use that is not otherwise permitted on the property or change the zoning classification of the property, and that the relief or remedy obtained through the variance is not available through the special exception process as provided for under the zoning and/or subdivision ordinance. When deciding appeals of the zoning administrator, the board must use its judgment to determine if the zoning administrator was correct. Now for tonight's meeting procedures. The staff reports for each case on tonight's agenda can be found on the BZA website. Staff has placed a link to the agenda in the chat section of the session. If you have not seen the report for your case, you may wish to review it before your item is called. Staff has also placed a link in the chat for supplemental material received after the staff reports were prepared. The order of our meeting is as follows. First, cases will be called and staff will give a brief report and provide their recommendation. Following that, board members will ask any questions of the staff they may have. Next, applicants or their representative will be given an opportunity to make comments to support the application or appeal. Then, if there are any speakers for the item, we will call them one at a time. After we hear from speakers for and against the proposal, the board may permit the applicant a brief opportunity to clarify any points. The board may also ask questions of any of the speakers, but we do not permit and will not condone any cross-examination or direct questioning by others. We have deemed the following time limits for applicants and speakers to be sufficient. 20 minutes for applicants of appeal, 5 minutes for applicants of use permits and variances, 3 minutes for speakers representing organizations, and 2 minutes for those speaking as individuals. After the board has gathered all the information we need and has discussed the case, we will decide the matter by voting on a duly made and seconded motion. A majority is needed to approve any motion. Any appeal from the decision of this board must be made to the circuit court in accordance with state law. Some specifics for how to run the virtual meeting tonight. The meeting tonight is available to stream from the county website via a Microsoft Teams link. There is also a dial-in phone option for those who wish to use it. If board members, presenters, or speakers lose internet connectivity during today's meeting, please reconnect with us by phone. Please keep your phones and devices muted until you are called upon. Turn off sound to any other devices around you to minimize interference. For those joining via Teams, please turn off your video feed. Only board members will leave their cameras on. When called upon to speak, please turn on your camera and unmute yourself by clicking on the microphone icon that is located on the meeting command bar. The moderator does not have the ability to unmute you. If you are dialing in by phone, press *6 to unmute. The meeting chat is active for presenters or board members who need technical assistance only. The meeting chat should not be used for discussion, public comment, questions about agenda items, or requests for more information. All public comments must be shared verbally for the record during the assigned public testimony period. Board members, if you wish to be recognized to speak, please seek recognition verbally as usual, or you may use the raised hand function. In either case, once you have been recognized, you may unmute yourselves. All voting tonight will be taken via a roll call vote. For applicants and public speakers, you will be called upon by county staff at an assigned time. Pre-registration to speak at tonight's hearing was requested. We will accommodate any additional speakers only if time permits. Public comment will take place within the time frame stated earlier, the same as we would provide at an in-person meeting. During public comment, a speaking timer will be displayed on the screen by staff. If you are dialing in by phone and unable to see the screen, we will provide you with an audible warning when 30 seconds are remaining. You will be muted when your time has concluded. Lastly, this is a public forum. Tonight's meeting will be recorded and posted to the county website. All information associated with today's meeting, whether written or spoken, is subject to Freedom of Information Act requirements. After your case of interest is heard, you are welcome to stay for the balance of the session or leave at your convenience. This concludes the introductory remarks. Now, board members, there are 3 applications I propose that we vote on in a block motion. These cases have been moved from their original position in the agenda. These are applications that we found are complete. where all the abutting and adjoining neighbors have provided their support in writing. There are no known objections to the project, and they each have a staff recommendation for approval. I will read the case numbers for these three items, and then I believe staff will call them formally. The case numbers for this block motion are V-11710-21-UP-2, V-11712-21-UP-1, and V-11713-21-UP-1. Mr. Bowen, will you call these items?
Yes, Madam Chair. As a brief, just a bit of background information for our attendees tonight. Our app for the timer for the speaking limits is no longer installed on my computer, so I will be planning to just hold my phone timer up to the screen more or less, and we will use that as a backup plan. In terms of the three cases that Madam Chair has called, I will read those now. The first one is V-11710-21-UP-2. It is a use permit request by Stan Karmoff on behalf of Anthony and Kristen Konda, the owners, to permit street setbacks of 7.8 feet and 14.5 feet to the eve instead of 21 feet to the eve as required, and to permit a street setback of 12.3 feet to the accessory structure, a planter box, instead of 25 feet as required, all from North Cleveland Street, regarding side and rear awnings and a planter box on an existing one-family dwelling on a corner lot in the R6 zoning district on the premises known as 2531 Key Boulevard. The second case in this group motion is V-11712-21-UP-1. It is a use permit request by Robert Bowman and Dina Esposito, the owners, to permit a street setback of 18.6 feet to the wall and portico, 17.6 feet to the eve instead of 25 feet to the wall and portico, 21 feet to the eve as required from North Quintana Street, and permit a right side setback of 9.9 feet to the wall instead of 10 feet as required regarding a one-story front addition to an existing one-family dwelling in the R6 zoning district on the premises known as 1838 North Quintana Street. The third and final case in this group motion is V-11713-21-UP-1. It is a use permit request by Claire and David Thomas, the owners, to permit a street setback of 22.5 feet to the wall, 18.7 feet to the porch, 18.2 feet to the porch and building eve, instead of 25 feet to the wall, 21 feet to the porch and building eve, 19.5 feet to the porch eve as required from North Ohio Street, regarding a partially enclosed front porch addition to an existing one-family dwelling on a corner lot in the R6 zoning district on the premises known as 1524 North Ohio Street.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen. I believe I see all three applicants in attendance. I think David T. is David Thomas. Or is that David?
Correct.
David Thomas. Okay. So I see all the applicants here. Is there, having had these three items called, is there anyone here that wishes to speak on these items? All right, hearing none, I think we can move to a motion.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion.
Yeah, Mr. Melnick.
Okay, so I move that by unanimous consent that we approve the applications with the resolutions as attached to them of approval. And should I read all the cases again?
No, I don't think.
Okay.
No, I don't
for
think.
For the three cases that were mentioned for passing by consent.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Melnick, seconded by Ms. Freshman. Is there any further discussion? I will call the roll. Mr. Melnick?
Aye.
Ms. Freshman?
Aye.
Ms. Clark?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion to approve these three applications is granted on a 4-0 vote. Thank you, applicants.
Thank you.
Mr. Bowen, will you call the next case on our agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair. The next case on the agenda is V-11672-21-VA-1. It is a carryover item, a variance request by Ola Kamara, the owner, to permit a main building footprint percentage coverage of 34.04% instead of 33% allowed for a one-family dwelling in the R6 zoning district with a qualifying front porch regarding a new front and rear porch and side addition to an existing one-family dwelling on a corner lot in the R6 zoning district on the premises known as 2621 North Lexington Street. Staff recommends that the board accept the withdrawal of this application from the December 2021 BZA hearing agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen. Mr. Bowen, is it a withdrawal from the agenda or is it just a withdrawal from the system? I mean, it's not going to come back to us.
That's correct. I would say it is I would use the term synonymously, but if there's any issue with that language, feel free to change the recommendation and amend any motion as needed.
So that's adequate to signify that it is being withdrawn.
In my mind, yes, and
okay,
we can revisit it as needed later if possible.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion?
Yes. In case V-11672-21-VA1, I move that the Board of Zoning Appeals accept the withdrawal of this application from the December 2021 BZA hearing.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Freshman, seconded by Ms. Clark. Any further discussion? I will call the roll. Mr. Melnick?
Aye.
Ms. Freshman?
Aye.
Ms. Clark?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion to withdraw this application carries on a 4-0 vote. Next item, Mr. Bowen.
Yes, Madam Chair. The next item on the agenda is the related use permit request. It is case number V-11672-21-UP-1, a carryover item, a use permit request by Ola Kamara, the owner, to permit street setback of 19.2 feet to the porch, 18.2 feet to the porch eave, instead of 21 feet to the porch, 19.5 feet to the porch eave as required from North Lexington Street, and the street setback of 13.5 feet to the stoop and 11 feet to the foundation wall of the covered patio, 10.4 feet to the covered patio eave, instead of 25 feet to the foundation wall of the covered patio, 21 feet to the stoop and covered patio eave, as required from 27th Street North, regarding a new front porch, stoop, and covered patio to an existing building on a corner lot in the R6 zoning district on the premises known as 2621 North Lexington Street. Staff recommends that the board adopt the attached proposed resolution granting the use permit request with conditions. Please note that there is supplemental material for this case that came in after the application packet was assembled and printed. And please also note that we have additional speakers who have signed up to speak on this case.
All right, Mr. Bowen, could you describe the supplemental material?
We received letters of primarily opposition, I believe, from 4 neighbors.
All right. Any questions for staff? I have one, Mr. Bowen. Is there a rear addition being planned for this project?
I do not believe there is a rear addition at this point. Let me pull up the project plans just to confirm that.
I'm looking at the plat, and I was trying to.
Yeah, the subject of the the last sentence of the use permit request says a new front porch, stoop, and covered patio. So those are the portions of the project that require BZA relief. The project scope did change in recent weeks, which is the reason the variance request was withdrawn in the first place. But I do not believe there is a rear addition at this point. Our applicant, Ola Kamara, might be able to speak a little bit more about the design details of the project.
Mr. Bowen, would you agree that according to the plat, it looks like there's a proposed rear addition?
Let me pull up. Do you have are you using the digital version of the application?
I'm looking at the hard copy, but
Okay, I'm wondering which exact page you're looking at.
I read it that only the items in the application required BZA action. So I read that to mean that the addition would be by right.
Yes, there was, oh, sorry, there was an earlier addition to this property, previously approved by right. And I believe that is indicated on the plat. You're talking about, it's kind of highlighted in I would call it a magenta color.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
the problem
that is
is that
a-
it says, Blake, the problem is that it says it's proposed, so they're using an old plat, I would guess.
Yes, the proposed addition is also shown on the existing plat, and as well as in the photograph. So it is an existing structure that is already there, but it is labeled on the plat as proposed.
Okay, so that, all
The
right,
confusion.
that's the problem.
Yeah, sorry about that confusion.
Yeah, so that
Well,
proposed.
it's the applicant's problem.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions for staff? So the reason I brought it up was I was trying to figure out if the calculations included the proposed rear addition, but since it's actual, I assume that the calculations included that existing proposed.
Yes, we our plan review staff in the zoning division reassessed the coverage when the new plans were submitted. So the coverage figures that are given are up to date.
And that includes, and the coverage calculation includes that rear addition
Yes, it does.
as existing.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's hear from the applicant. Is Ms. Kamara with us tonight?
Mister?
Is it Mr.?
It is Mr. I'm checking the guest list to see if
Mr.
he's
Kamara?
attendance. I do not see him in the guest list at the moment.
I do not see him either. I do see one phone number. Mr. Kamara, are you listening in? Not having the applicant with us makes it difficult to proceed.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I think given that the applicant's not here and given that the comments from the neighbors seem to focus primarily on the fact that they hadn't been communicated with on the changes since whatever version we've heard more than once, I would suggest that a deferral to February, and which would allow the applicant time to be present and also to communicate without the difficulty of dealing with people during the holidays, so that the neighbors, he might perhaps win their support.
Yes, I think that that's probably where we're going. But if we have speakers here with us, I'd like to, have them speak to us before we make a motion.
Okay.
Is that Ms. Lindquist?
We do have a Karen Lindquist signed up to speak.
Ms. Lindquist, are you with us? I see her.
Yes, I am.
You may unmute yourself and reveal yourself if you wish.
And I'll hold my timer up to the screen so it's visible.
All right.
I just wanted to say that I didn't receive a copy of the revision or the new proposal until 4 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, when the owner came and knocked on the door, and we spent about 5 minutes on the front porch. He did not leave a copy of the plans, but just generally explained them and pointed out to the 8x11 copies in his hand what he intended to do and how he was trying to accommodate the neighbors' concerns. He said he would email the plans, and I did not see them in my email until late in the day on Monday afternoon. They seem to have appeared sometime mid-morning Monday, but since, like all of you, I work full-time, I'm not checking my personal email. So I haven't had much time to really think about the proposed changes and the impact they would have, and whether or not I am amenable or not to them. And I would appreciate the opportunity for time to review the plans thoroughly and to provide thoughtful comments.
Thank you, Ms. Lindquist. We received additional comments. Some of them did talk about simply the lack of time to review the new plans. Others had some specific concerns. Mr. Bowen, you know, since Mr. Kamara is not here, I guess you will be reaching out to him to let him know what the outcome of our decision tonight is.
Yes,
And
I will be.
And you can direct him to this additional feedback that he's getting. But and perhaps, yeah, if everybody's gotten copies now, whether they're by email or however, people should have an opportunity, should have an opportunity to look at them. But if he wishes to, particularly with the neighbors that have concerns, reach out and discuss these concerns, I think that would also be very helpful if, if he can explain to neighbors what the plans are. But without him here, I think this is as far as we're going to go. So I'm ready for a motion if there's no further discussion.
Madam Chair,
Ms. Freshman.
I move on the case of V-11672-21-UP1 that the case be deferred to the February 9, 2022 BZA hearing.
I'll second it.
All right, motion made by Ms. Freshman, seconded by Ms. Clark to defer the case to our February 9th, 2022 meeting. Any further discussion? I will call the roll. Mr. Melnick?
Aye.
Ms. Freshman?
Aye.
Ms. Clark?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The motion to defer carries 4-0. Thank you, Ms. Lindquist. Will you call the next item, Mr. Bowen?
Yes, Madam Chair. The next item is case number V-11647-21-UP-1. This is also a carryover item, a use permit request by Mohammed Sohail Arzu, the owner, to permit a street setback of 20 feet to the wall from South Monroe Street and to permit a street setback of 24.3 feet to the wall from the South Walter Reed Drive, regarding a new front two-story addition in the R6 zoning district on the premise known as 1809 South Monroe Street. Staff recommends that the board adopt the attached proposed resolution granting the use permit request with conditions. An alternative resolution has been provided should the BZA see fit to deny the request because they feel that they do not have the material necessary to determine if the required relief should be approved. I'll also note that there is supplemental material for this case that came in after the application packet was assembled and printed.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen. Could you describe the supplemental material?
We received an online comment from one neighbor.
All right. Any questions for staff?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Ms. Freshman?
Yes, I just wanted to ask, Blake, it seems to me that the last time around we had a hand drawn submission and we had deferred in order to get a more technically accurate drawing. Is that what we're looking at now, or is there something else that we need to really, delve into? It read to me as if we were asked to approve a more official submission.
Ms. Freshman, thank you for that question. I will defer to Mr. Rissy, who has been dealing primarily with Mr. Arzu and probably has the most up-to-date and accurate information on that.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello, Mr.
Uh,
Rissy.
So I think last time the issue was that we did not have a plat or plans that were to scale that showed what the applicant was requesting as far as the smaller footprint. This has been heard a number of times. Originally, there was a proposal for about 150 square foot, 2-story addition. The variance for that case was denied and guidance was given to seek a addition that could be done by right. So the applicant shrank the size of the addition down to 80 square feet, but the plat and plans didn't show that condition. And I think that is why it was deferred last month. Since that time, we now have a revised plat that shows the current proposed 80 square foot footprint for the 2-story addition. At this time, the floor plans and elevations still show the larger proposed structure, but the proposed plat now shows the smaller footprint that is currently being requested.
So we don't have drawings for what's being requested,
You have a plat.
but no drawings that represent what is in the request.
No floor plans or elevations that show the 80 square foot footprint, correct?
All right. And that's unusual.
Yeah, it seems like in the proposed resolution, you're addressing that by referencing the plat, which is the technical approval, and not any of the other drawings, which are sort of informal, I would describe.
I did try to avoid some of our standard condition language that I
Right.
thought would be confusing because we kind of show two different things with the different drawings. So I did try to craft a resolution that I thought would make it clear exactly what was being approved and what was not.
I believe it is clear, as long as we're just referencing the plat itself as what's being approved.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Melnick.
so I would note, and this could be something that even keeps us from considering this, is a disclosure statement, which is mandated, doesn't appear to be signed, and it's not notarized either. So it looks like effectively there's no disclosure statement as a part of this package.
Oh, you're right.
And I would also, I think it just creates ambiguity to have these drawings in here, unless we, as a part of the motion, if we're actually going to do that on account of this defective disclosure statement, but I think we'd have to actually expressly exclude the drawings. But this plat, though, it's, I'm looking at, it's stating how far it has to be from the street, but aside from that, it doesn't really give other measurements. So I just think we need something clearer. So I'm inclined to, see if there could be another deferral and then plans that actually match the plat, and also a correct disclosure statement that's signed and notarized.
I completely agree with you. I failed to notice the disclosure, but having it be blank is not acceptable.
I would say we also, Madam Chair, need to reemphasize the neighbor outreach with any changes or updates that are made.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes.
So, Mr. Rissy, at the last meeting, the applicant told us that he has tenants, or one or more tenant in the building, and that he was making an application for an accessory dwelling unit.
I believe that was the case, yes.
Was staff able to verify whether there's an application or what the status of any accessory dwelling units are?
I have not.
Okay. I certainly would not be inclined to support an application that had for a structure that was not being let's say, legally used if in fact there are additional tenants.
Is the applicant here?
Yes, let's call the applicant. Maybe he can shed some light on this. Mr. Arzu, are you with us?
Evening. Yes, I'm here.
Hi, how are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you all?
We'll do good. Good. A little bit of an echo, so we'll listen carefully.
Okay, let me turn this video off here. Is it better now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. As far as I recall from last time, the board asked for the new plot, which I contacted the surveyor again, and they spent a lot of time in recreating the plot, and it's showing exactly the what I'm proposing. And so as far as the floor plans and the elevation, there nothing changed because it's 10 by 8, 80 square feet addition. So and I don't recall board ask for the changing in the floor plan or elevation because there's really nothing to change. So only thing they want you were interested in seeing the exact, correct, precise measurement on the plot, and which shows exactly what I'm asking for. The so I'm not sure what else there is I need to do or provide to you.
So, Mr. Arzu, are you saying that the drawings represent what's on the plat?
Exactly. Yes. The section in the shaded section in the front. That's all is what I'm asking for. Let me put up here. Yeah, and all I'm asking is for 22.9, actually 22 feet setbacks instead of 25 from this one corner. Everywhere else I'm fine. And the on the right side, I don't need the setbacks from the right side, from the Walter Reed side, which is I'm way over the setbacks. And that the only place I need the where it says 22.9, and that's all. That's my proposed addition. This 80 square feet addition.
So, Mr. Rissy, does that jive with you that the drawings do represent the plat?
Madam Chair, the drawings that I believe that we have in the packet right now, the floor plans that I'm looking at, it's page 37 of the digital set, still seems to represent a 17-foot wide addition.
Yeah.
10-foot deep addition. So that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And that seems to be consistent for the first floor, second floor, as well as the proposed elevations.
Okay, let me see. I believe I did delete all the previous version, and I uploaded the current or the drawing which matched the plot. I may have. So, Mr. Rissy, you didn't get the? You're not seeing the updated, revised version of the elevations and the floor plan?
Not currently, no.
Because I even checked it before I sent everything, and I did see all the new elevations. I'm not sure
It looks to me on the floor plan there are no page numbers, but there looks to be two, and one of them looks to be 8 by 10, and the other side looks to be 10 by 17. And if that's the case, then I presume that the 8 by 10 one corresponds to a plat.
Yeah, 8 by 10 is the correct one. I'm trying to pull up right now. I'm on my computer, and I'm trying to see what it is here.
Okay, so there,
Yeah, I think for clarification, I guess it would be better not to have the old one, but at least we appear to have a floor plan that shows an 8 by 10, which I assume correlates with the plat. as.
See
Yeah,
there,
I'm-
Mr. Rissy, but it's dated 2/2/16. Or maybe that's not the,
Madam Chair,
yes, Mr.
also where the area juts out, it's flush on these plans, it's flush with the right side of the building. And so that's
Oh,
clearly not
yes.
right either. You see
Yeah.
how
Okay.
it's inset on the plat.
You're right, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, we
that I
need
agree. That is flush because
plans.
because I was more concentrating on the plot, and so the company was moving the addition right to left just to get out of the setbacks. So after they did that, which they recently sent me the new plot, and the day they sent it to me, I forwarded it on to Mr. Rissy. I think at that time I didn't pay attention on the flushing part of the proposed addition. I should have shifted, but it's either way. It's 8x10. It's 8x10 addition.
Yeah, it's not accurate.
I mean, I can correct it and send the correct one. Maybe you can make it contingent upon that I'll correct this thing and I shift it to the right.
No.
So the bigger problem, the other problem that's going to delay your application is your disclosure statement needs to be finalized.
The disclosure statement, I probably have to revisit. I don't remember what was that for and what is that in it, but I'll revisit it, and I may have missed that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll revisit that thing.
So what is the status with your accessory dwelling unit?
So yeah, I'm just I have contacted. I'm dealing. My point of contact is Tracy over there in the zoning, and I guess she's pretty busy. And I've been calling her. I called her a number of times, and we were planning to meet this whole. Actually, this whole month, the past month, and I actually even called her today just to get a word on when are we going to meet. So I'm hoping she's in the meeting because I did ask her. She can, she can speak on what's going on because I like to take care of this thing. It's just that I have a friend staying in the back. It's not like and it's according to I was reading the ordinance. Which was accessory dwelling, and it clearly says the accessory dwellings are smaller, independent, second dwellings on a single-family lot. They have their own living, bathroom, kitchen space. Homeowner often builds accessory dwellings to house a relative, agent in place, or to bring in additional income by renting the space. So these are all, and this ordinance was passed on May 18, 2019. But I'm just trying to make, because I didn't know all about this, and I just want to make everything, clear and clean. But somehow I guess Tracy been pretty busy, and we just never got a chance to meet, so she can come and look at it and everything. So that's, that is this thing is outstanding, but I don't know how would that impact the approval or for my proposed addition. That I need to take care of that because I didn't know about all these things before.
All right. I think we're going to move to a motion here to defer. Is that what I'm understanding, colleagues?
Mm-hmm.
Well, can I just say a couple more words? Because it's been deferred, so it's been almost like about a year now. It's going on back and forth, and I have canceled several times. I canceled my trips, and I'm actually leaving for. Actually, my son just contracted COVID, and I'm kind of a little bit tipsy myself. So, but I already have a booking for January 2nd to leave for overseas, and I wouldn't be back until February. So if we get better, I'm gonna leave. I'm just waiting to see how this conditions transpire, so we can either I cancel it or reschedule my trip. But in the past, it's been going on for I have to cancel several times because of deferment. So what I suggest and what I ask at the board that if it's possible, I can provide these documents or whatever you need, if this can be approved and contingent upon whatever you like to put in there. I'll provide all those things to the zoning before because I hate to waste your time too, and let alone my time, because I'm not only time but I'm keep changing and postponing my plans several times. It happened, so it's kind of getting pretty inconvenient for me now. For the last 10 months, I have shrunk my addition from twice as much to twice as less. I mean, I have support from a lot of neighbors here, even from my civic association president and everybody that supported it. So I'm not sure how much more I can do to I guess to satisfy the board.
So you have two things that need to happen. We need to get a signed and notarized disclosure statement, and we need to get drawings that match what you're asking for.
Okay.
When are you back? When are you back in February?
I'm scheduled to back February 2nd, I believe. But it's
we will defer. We can defer this to February 9th, and then you'll be back.
Yeah, but I have so little time to take care of so many things before I leave on January 2nd. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to provide you all these documentation before I leave. I can try my best. To provide everything. But
would you prefer March?
No, I think February will be okay. In case if I don't come back, can I be able to push it back to March? Oh.
Yes.
Well, yes. Okay.
Ms. Clark, do you have your hand raised?
Yes, I wanted to be sure that the applicant is aware that he hasn't really done a neighbor outreach with the changes to his plan. So in the meantime, I think he needs to do three things: the accurate plans, the disclosure statement, and a neighborhood outreach to update them on what's changed.
Okay, I will update them, but they have approved a much larger addition, twice as much. I'm pretty sure they'll have no problem.
You don't have support from all of your neighbors. The letter that we received today has a neighbor that's objecting. So you do have a little homework to do there too.
Is that I know the one neighbor across the street from me, he sent it out several months ago. Is there anybody else too?
Mr. Rissy can share with you the documents of that we received, so that you can so you know who you need to talk to.
Okay. Yeah, I can. Okay. Most neighbors they signed off pretty quick right away, but I had I had to go back and forth with the civic association because the people are pretty busy. I mean the president of the association, they finally sent me a support letter, but it took me a lot of time to get a letter from them. I'm not sure how quickly I'll be able to get a letter from them if I have to do all over again. That's
well, do your best. Do your best, and I think, are we ready for a motion here?
Madam Chair, I can make a motion.
Mr. Melnick?
Okay, so in case V116471 UP1, I move that the Board of Zoning Appeals defer this application until the February 9th Board of Zoning Appeals meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
I don't see Miss Freshman. Have we lost her?
No.
You're here. Okay. So we have a motion made by Mr. Melnick, seconded by Ms. Clark, to defer to the February 9th BZA hearing. Any further discussion?
I would only say just making sure that the applicant understands, as Ms. Clark outlined, that he has three tasks.
Okay. Yeah. So one is, let me just recap it. So one is you need the floor plan, I guess, shifted to the right. The second is that you need some, the statement of disclosure changed.
Yes.
And the third is the to get the neighborhood outreach.
Okay.
Yes, and the disclosure statement is notarized.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Melnick?
so I would ask that he confirm with staff, that these 3 items have been satisfactorily met. I think that'd be a good idea. Just
Yeah.
to have staff, confirm that.
Yes, if you would, share with staff and make sure that they agree. So, the drawing has to be shifted, but most importantly, it has to match what's on the plat.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that'll be easy for the surveyor company to do it, because somehow, I should have sent it to them, these elevations too. I didn't realize that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. If there's no further discussion, I will call the roll. Mr. Melnick?
Aye.
Ms. Freshman?
Aye.
Ms. Clark?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion to defer to February 9 passes 4-0. Thank you, Mr. Orzu. I hope your son is going to get well soon.
Yeah, I'm kind of a little bit up and down too, but I'm glad, I don't feel really bad at all. I'm trying to go with my life, but he's okay too. But I'm sure, it's just that, we just have to go overseas, and now this thing just happened last minute, so just
Okay.
need to get over. Okay, thank you so much, Bill. Appreciate it.
All right. See you next year.
All right, thank you. Happy New Year and safe holidays.
Happy New Year to you.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Mr. Bowen, will you call the next item?
Yes, Madam Chair. The next case is V-11710-21-UP-2, which was part of the group motion at the start of the hearing.
Okay.
So following up on that, the next case is case number V-11711-21-UP-1, a use permit request by Catherine and Christopher Ramuzzi, the owners, to permit a right side setback of 8.1 feet to the carport and wall, 5 feet to the eave, instead of 10 feet to the carport and wall, 6 feet to the eave as required, regarding a new 2-story side addition and rear addition to an existing 1-family dwelling in the R6 zoning district on the premises known as 5020 12th Street South. Staff recommends that the board adopt the attached proposed resolution granting the use permit request with conditions.
Thank you. Any questions for staff?
Could you just advance the slides, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
Mhm.
No questions for Ms. Clark. Do you have your hand up? All right. All right. No questions for staff. Is Catherine or Christopher Ramuzzi with us this evening?
I'm here. Yes. How's it going, everybody?
We're doing fine. I hear you. I don't see you yet, but sometimes it takes a moment. There you are. Welcome. Do you have anything you'd like to share with us regarding your application?
No, nothing to share. We've attempted to reach out and contact as many of the neighbors as possible, and strove to complete everything that was required for the board to hear this case.
All right. We don't have but one response, and you'll notice that other applicants were able to get responses from all of their neighbors. Is there something we should be aware of?
Yep. We don't actually live at the property currently. We live in Vermont, so everything was, unfortunately, it had to be done remotely via the mail. So that was the best we could do it given the circumstances.
So do you have an agent here that could do that for you?
Not necessarily. I mean, we could come down and contact them directly, but I feel like, you know, like I said, we did kind of the due diligence to get the neighbors notified as much as possible.
Yeah. We like to see, this is a sizable addition. We'd like to be sure that your neighbors have had a chance to see the plans and ask you any questions. Your site has a severe slope to the back, and so particularly the neighbors in the back may want to talk to you about runoff that might be caused by during construction as well as after construction. So there are a number of issues that I could see that neighbors might want to talk to you about.
Yep, understood. I will note that we did contact our civic association president, and they said that they wouldn't support or decline this based on their conversations with other civic association presidents. So I mean, our contacts we're getting help. You know, people were getting this mail. We're getting the contacts. So you know, given the kind of, like I said, kind of the conditions, I feel like we try to as best as possible, based on the guidance that we were given by all of the documentation, to reach out to the neighbors as much as possible.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant, Ms. Freshman?
Well, yeah, I would just explain that, I mean, the county reaches out and formally notifies all the surrounding neighbors. And they post the property in the area, post in the neighborhood. But it is the applicant's job to actually show the plans, answer any questions or concerns in order to get, so that we are assured that it's been vetted sufficiently for the people who are most impacted, particularly as Ms. Malice points out. You know, if there's a great issue, runoff to the properties in the rear. So I think that's the problem that we have, is that we don't really have any feedback, good or bad or indifferent, for all of the surrounding, particularly the people on either side and to the rear. You know, and that's, and I understand that because you're not in the area, that makes it a lot more difficult. Believe it or not, we have people who are in the area, in their houses, who don't always, you know, get the message either. So, you know, I appreciate that you've reached out, but I think it's really difficult to approve a project of this magnitude when we really don't have any, and the neighbors haven't had an opportunity to really discuss your plans and look at them and provide feedback, so we can be assured that that's happened.
Yeah,
So,
I totally understand. I just wish that was explained more explicitly in the paperwork prior to getting to this point. And I could have made some alternate arrangements.
Did you not read the guidelines that about neighborhood outreach? Did you not see those?
Yeah, no, I read those guidelines, and it seemed like, you know, contact your neighbors, you know, via mail at least, but it didn't explicitly say go knock on their doors with pictures of plans and make sure that they understand completely what was going on. So again, that it sounds like kind of some misinterpretation on my side as to what was considered sufficient to let the neighborhood know.
Okay, well, we'll look at those guidelines again and see if maybe they should be clarified, but that's where we are. What is your time frame for either being down here to do it yourself or your ability to find someone to do it for you?
I mean, I would have to see something about that. I mean, a week or so at most, I would say. I could probably find someone to knock on some doors.
All right. Typically, we get either, there's either a petition that people sign or they sign individual letters. If examples of them can be found in the other applications in tonight's hearing.
Yep.
So if we deferred this to January, would that give you sufficient time to do that work? It's the holidays, keep in mind.
Yep, no, understood. I mean, I would, if possible, I would love to have a approval contingent on additional neighborhood notification.
That we can't do contingent approvals.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I've just based on the prior conversation, I didn't know if that was an option. Yeah. I mean, that's plenty of time. We're trying to get back down to the area as soon as possible. So the sooner we can start construction, the better. I'm happy to move with as much velocity as possible.
Okay, colleagues, does January work for you all?
Yes.
All right. All right. Guess we can work on a motion.
Yeah, I can.
I
I
mean,
move Board Zoning Appeals defer use permit V-11711-21-UP1 to the January fill in the blank to 2022 BZA hearing. I don't have the calendar in front of me.
Yeah, I'll get that.
12.
It's the 12th.
January
Yeah.
12th, 2022.
Madam
I'll
Chair,
second.
Motion made by Ms. Freshman, seconded by Ms. Clark. Was someone else speaking?
Madam Chair, Mr. Bowen was speaking. We have potential revisions to our January meeting date that we're going to discuss at the end of the meeting.
right.
We might have to push it a week into the future.
Okay.
Not certain, but we will probably adopt at least an alternative date at the end of the meeting.
Well, let's just say January 2022.
Yeah.
And not put the date in.
Yeah, for the applicant's information, we have been meeting virtually, and so our next meeting is scheduled for the 12th. If we should be called back to meet in person, then the 12th there's a conflict with the county boardroom, and we would have to meet later, and tentatively that would be a week later on January 19th. But we haven't adopted that date yet, so and it may not be necessary. It all depends on whether we can continue virtual meetings next year. So for now, we'll just say the January 2022 meeting, and it'll either be the 12th or the 19th.
Yep. And just to be clear as to the expectation of what the board is expecting us to do is to physically knock on each of our neighbors' doors with pictures of plans, grading plans, et cetera, and sharing with them for review. Yes,
and really knock on the doors as often as you can until you get a response. It's not always they're not always there the first time you knock. So it's a good opportunity to meet your neighbors since you're moving back to anyway. Or you can host a gathering. However you want to do it.
The house is in much shape for a gathering right now.
Okay. All right. We have a motion to defer to our January 12th meeting made by Ms. Freshman, seconded by Ms. Clark. Any further discussion? I will call the roll. Mr. Melnick, Ms. Freshman.
Aye.
Ms. Clark.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion to defer to January 2022 is adopted 4-0. So that's your challenge now to get out there and talk to your neighbors.
I understand. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bowen, will you call the next item?
Yes, Madam Chair. The next two items, V-11712-21-UP-1, as well as V-11713-21-UP-1, were both approved in the group motion at the start of the hearing. So I'll move on to V-11714-21-UP-1. And V-11714-21-UP-1 is a use permit request by Lisa Garcia on behalf of Willis Martin and Helen Duvall, the owners, to permit a rear setback of 22.7 feet to the rear addition, to the wall of the rear addition, instead of 25 feet as required, regarding a new rear addition to an existing one-family dwelling in the R10 zoning district on the premises known as 3800 North Tazewell Street. The staff recommends that the board adopt the attached proposed resolution granting the use permit request with conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen. Any questions for staff? Mr. Bowen, I have a small question just to make sure that everything's in order. The use permit request here says 22.7 feet to the wall. But when I look at the plat, I think it's actually see where I saw that. It's 22.8 to the wall.
Yes, I believe, Madam Chair, in this case, some applicants have a preference to give themselves a little bit of wiggle room so they don't find themselves in trouble should they, do a wall check survey once construction is underway and they find out that it was actually accidentally built a little bit closer. So some applicants choose to give themselves like a few inches, even just an inch of leeway. I believe that's what happened here.
So, because the plat says 22.7 to the eave. So then what does that mean?
And you are looking at, I believe, we have, of course, the existing plat and proposed plat. So you're looking at the proposed plat, which.
Yeah, I'm looking at the dimensions. It's 22.7 to the eave, 22.8 to the wall. So I just want to make sure that this is right.
Yeah, I believe the eave would be considered in a by right location. So the eave itself does not require relief. They're generally given a 4-foot encroachment into the rear yard. So I believe the 22.7 feet in this case refers to just giving a little bit of extra wiggle room for the wall itself.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for staff? All right.
Madam Chair, did staff receive a response from the LLC or make any attempts to reach out?
That's the rear neighbor.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The package, I didn't see a response from Josh or the LLC.
Let's ask
the app. I don't believe so.
Yeah.
To ask the applicant.
We can ask the applicant.
Okay.
Is Miss Garcia or Miss?
Hi, I'm
Are you
here.
Miss
I'm Lisa
Garcia?
Garcia.
All right.
Yes, hi.
You are here on behalf of the owners?
I am correct.
All right. So it's something you'd like to say on behalf of the application?
Sure. Right now, the current property has a 1-level sunroom in this location. It was not, as far as we could tell, ever permitted. It looked like a deck that was at some point converted to a sunroom, so it was not structured correctly. They have a flat roof that's failing. So the intent was to remove that and build something that is structurally sound to code in the same footprint, so that the corner will be in the same location as what exists. We did reach out to all of the surrounding neighbors. Josh Holloway, I believe is his last name. Let me pull up.
Josh, I think he's with.
He owns the property behind that you guys were asking about.
Right.
The homeowner did go and speak to him and had a number of email correspondence with him, but he would not support the request. He said that it could limit something that he wanted to do to his own property. So even though we explained that that's not how a use permit request works, that it wouldn't inhibit something done to his property. I did want to note that we did send in an additional signature of support, but I don't see it in the supplemental information that was posted.
All right, yeah, I don't have supplemental material for this.
4289 Ditmar. We sent that in on Monday to Mr. Bowen.
42,
Oh,
oh,
good.
no, that's in the package. That's from Mr. Bush, no,
So 4289 is on the corner, Ditmar
I
Road.
see it, yes.
Yeah, I had a question
4283
mark on that.
Do
sorry,
you
go ahead.
see that, Mr. Bowen, 4289?
I did not see it when I was compiling the supplemental materials. I can check my messages now to ensure that I got it.
Sure.
Give me just a moment.
Take your time.
I have an email confirmation back from you, so I can share
Oh,
that again.
Okay,
if
well, I
need to.
apologize in that case.
So we did speak to all the surrounding neighbors and get letters of support from everyone except for 4283 38th Street, the property owned by the LLC. And the owner did include a description of her conversations with him, and
Yes.
that he was unwilling to support it.
Okay. All right, you guys have
Madam
done your job. Ms. Freshman?
I just wanted to confirm what I believe you said, Ms. Garcia, which is that the proposal is replacing something that's existing.
Yes,
So it's the same footprint.
it is a little wider. However, where we've widened it is not in the setback. If you know, it's a trapezoidal lot, and so the corner of the existing structure and what we hope to replace is in the setback. And so we are
well, I
not
was thinking
further.
Yeah, I was thinking about the unwillingness of one of your neighbors to support it because it might impact future development on his side. And it just struck me as it's not something that it's something that you're replacing that's perhaps modestly different, but it it's hard to see how that would be different. And
I understand your point. I appreciate it. We're just trying to create something that's structurally stable, still gives them the use they currently have, and do it to meet all the codes and regulations that are necessary.
Yeah, the area of encroachment would be the same now as it is existing. It's only gotten wider towards the center of the building, and that part is well within the setback.
Farther away. It's actually
correct. And the eave is less projecting than what exists now. We're trying to be sensitive to the issue.
Mr. Bowen, were you able to locate that missing piece of information?
I have not yet found it, but I can keep looking.
I can shoot you. I can send it back to you.
If she forwards it to you right now, can you look at it?
Absolutely.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'm just going to look off to the side here. All right, I'm going to re-forward it.
I think I just found it and I pulled it up.
Did you? Okay. All right. I think we're sitting at the same time then.
Right. So what did you find, Mr. Bowen?
4289, at least the subject of the email is what we're talking about. Let's pull this up.
Yep.
Yep, that's it.
Okay. Yeah,
Excellent.
I was almost positive this was in the packet. I apologize. That is my error then.
Thank you for finding it.
I'm glad I did.
All right. So we have.
I'm ready to make a motion.
All right, Ms. Freshman.
I move the Board of Zoning Appeals approve the attached proposed resolution granting use permit V-11714-21-UP1, subject to the conditions listed.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
A motion made by Ms. Freshman, seconded by Mr. Melnick to grant the use permit with conditions. Any further discussion? I will call the roll. Mr. Melnick?
Aye.
Ms. Freshman?
Aye.
Ms. Clark?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion to grant the use permit with conditions is adopted 4-0. Thank you, Ms. Garcia.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Mr. Bowen, will you call the next item?
Yes, Madam Chair. The next item is case number V-11715-21-UP-1, a use permit request by J. Zalea on behalf of Z George LLC, the owner, to permit a street setback of 10.2 feet to the wall, 9.2 feet to the eave, instead of 25 feet to the wall, 21 feet to the eave, 10.4 feet to the front porch, 9.2 feet to the porch eave, instead of 21 feet to the front porch, 19.5 feet to the porch eave, 17.8 feet to the rear detached garage and planter box, 16.8 feet to the garage eave, instead of 25 feet to the rear detached garage and planter box, 21 feet to the garage eave, all from 20th Street North, and to permit a left side setback of 4.1 feet to the areaway instead of 5 feet to the areaway as required regarding a new one-family dwelling and rear detached garage on a corner lot in the R6 zoning district on the premises known as 2001 North George Mason Drive. Staff recommends that the board adopt the attached proposed resolution granting the use permit request with conditions. Please note that there is supplemental material for this case that came in after the application packet was assembled and printed. And please also note that we have an additional speaker who has signed up to speak on this item.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen. Would you describe the supplemental material?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have received some comments from the Civic Association nearby, as well as an additional letter of neighborhood support.
All right, thank you. Any questions for staff? All right, can we hear from the applicant, Mr. Zelaya?
Yes, good evening. This is Mrs. Zelaya. How are you today?
I'm fine. I hear you. I don't see you yet, but I'm sure I will pretty soon.
I've been trying to get this camera to work here the last
Okay.
10 minutes. I'm having a little difficulty, but I will keep trying, and hopefully you can continue to hear me as we go through.
Hearing is fine.
Mr. Zelaya, this is Mr. Bowen. I will give you an audio warning in case you speak for close to 5 minutes. I will start the timer now.
Mr. Bowen, is it 5 minutes for the applicant? Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Our proposal here, and again, bear with me as I try to get this camera working here.
Don't worry about the camera.
Okay.
We can hear you fine.
Our proposal here is to take the existing one level Rambler, which is on a corner lot. As we all know, every corner lot has 2 front yards. And as we assess the site here, if we were going to remain in conjunction with the setbacks prescribed per the code, we would end up with a 6-foot wide home. Seeing that we have 2 front yards on the front, on the George Mason side, and on the side, on the 20th Street side. Therefore, obviously, a 6-foot wide home is a hindrance, and more so a hardship for sure. So our proposition is to actually take down the one level structure and build a home that is similarly sized to the one adjacent to us on the left, which is 2003 North George Mason Drive. It'll be very, very similar in footprint. And we took a lot of our data from our neighboring properties, one of which is 2000 North Emerson, which is directly behind Caddy Corner, who also have that restriction of a corner lot, and they have the same challenges that we face on this lot. And they have or are actually built a lot closer even than what we're proposing at 2001. If you see if their plat, again, 2000 North Emerson Street, and as we analyze all the properties on that street, they're all very much similar to what we're proposing, even the corner lots as we are now. We did have perform a neighbor outreach, and we were able to receive support pretty much unanimously from 2003 North George Mason, 2000 North George Mason, 5200 North George Mason, 1925 North George Mason, and those are directly adjacent to us on either side, left and right, and across the street, directly across the street in Caddy Corner. So our ask is for the variance, so we may actually bring this property up to neighbor standards, as we see that most of the homes around here have been redeveloped, and this one has been not. So we're proposing that, and it's in very bad, very poor condition, inhabitable at this point, actually. So we're asking the board to approve our plan, and any questions that we may answer. We're not creating any further curb cuts or any other kind of entrance to the property other than what already exists there. And we have a really, really thorough and expansive stormwater management plan created by RC Fields, who are our civil engineers on this project. So we feel that the impact this would have would actually be positive and would mimic most of our neighbors joining us, and we really appreciate all of their support. So hopefully the staff will see that this will be a benefit to the community and would actually bring this property up to speed with everything else around it, as it is the only what appears to be one of the biggest eyesores there on that street and in that surrounding area.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Zelaya. Were you able to review the supplemental material that we received?
We did, and we were able to reach out to I believe the associations that had written in to you to the county to the city about the project. We didn't get immediate response, but everyone around us is in complete support of the project. I don't believe that we are a part of a direct part of any association, if you will, in this lot. So, but we were able to receive it, and we reached out immediately, but we didn't hear back.
Who did you reach out to?
We reached out to the association, if you give me a second, Langston, I believe, is one, and Hills Hall is the other. And I understand that it is the same individual involved in both. And so therefore it would be the same person who kind of sent in those two supplemental information after the fact.
I have three. What we have is from three different people, I think. But anyway, Ms. Freshman?
Yeah, I'm very familiar with this lot. I pass it often, and I've been wondering when it was finally going to come, because as my colleagues know, I am usually leery of granting exceptions for new homes on the theory that you know what the footprint is that's allowable. But this is an extraordinarily narrow lot, And is there any chance you can save the tree?
I believe that if we look at the existing grading plan by RC Fields, you know what? Give me 1 second, if you will, as I review this. I believe the intent is to keep the tree. It is just a matter of it. Yeah, actually, I believe we can. We're putting in a very, very extensive stormwater management underground system on that side of the lot. And if it doesn't impede, then we definitely will, because, you know, we love to keep the forestry. We love to keep the trees and all the plantings that are possible. But as you've stated, this lot is extremely challenging in every way. And so our full intent is to keep that tree if it allows within the restrictions of the stormwater management requirement per the city.
Well, given the constraints, I realize that that's probably not something that we can condition, but I would strongly encourage you to make every effort to save it.
I totally agree. It's a beautiful tree.
Ms. Clark?
Yes, for clarification, the owner mentions that they didn't think they were in any civic association area, but you did reach out to the John M. Langston Association and got no response.
Yeah, we reached out. We sent them a call and we didn't get any response. And then we emailed both of them. And I mean, we may have at this point, but since we last checked, we have not seen anything come through. Therefore, so at this point, I'm not saying they didn't, but we have not seen it. I suppose that if we check, maybe, but we reached out with them to them via phone and email.
So that's since the 3rd, is that right?
They
That's what
actually,
everybody's in an association. They just may not be a member, dues paying member.
so my understanding is that their letters came in rather recently.
Yes,
Yeah, and within the last 3 days or so.
yes.
And so we reached out immediately, which might have been 2 days ago, which was, I believe, the same day or the next day that we were informed that they had written the city.
All right. So yeah, Halls Hill Highview Park Historic Preservation Coalition was one. And the other is a member of the community. And I'm not sure what the connection, Miss Jones wrote, whether, I don't know if any of these are official civic association messages. I can't tell. Ms. Clark? You're muted.
Okay, I know the names that are listed have some affiliation with the current civic association, but it wasn't clear whether the civic association was actually responding.
I don't know quite how to tackle that. But with respect to neighborhood outreach, you are missing your rear neighbors. And on North Emerson Street. Are you aware of that in terms of feedback?
Yes, we actually tried physically to touch base, but every time we went, there was nobody that came to answer the door for a visit, or possibly I would assume that if they were home and they didn't answer, you know, maybe some sort of COVID precaution. I can't say for sure, but we did visit several times and we got everyone else, with the exception of rear neighbor just because they would not, they were just either not home or not able to answer the door for whatever reason.
So I'm in a bit of a quandary regarding the Civic Association input. It's just not clear. Mr. Bowen, according to the agenda, they are part of the Langston Civic Association area, John M. Langston. Okay.
Yes, I believe they're right on the border of that particular civic association, right on the edge.
All right. Any further thoughts on how to proceed?
Madam Chair, it may be helpful to ask if there are any additional speakers, because I do see one,
Oh,
but we haven't heard from the speakers yet.
thank you. I apologize. Yeah, we do have a speaker. Mr. Carpenter, I'm sorry I haven't called on you yet. Would you like to give us your thoughts?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Bernard Carpenter. I'm a member of the executive board of the John M. Langston Civic Association. And we were just appraised of this information about what was going on 2000 George Mason. And we are requesting that the BZA postpone until the court organization presents themselves to the Civic Association and provide information on to the community's questions based on the structure, the limited flat lot size. There are some concerns and some questions from the community that was raised at the executive board, and we would like them to come to the main body on the 22nd to present their plans. Now, our president did reach out, or they did reach out to us, and our president did reach back to them today at 9:54 and provided that same information to them. And I guess as of 5 o'clock, we haven't heard back from the organization yet. So that's where we stand right now. We're requesting to hear from them.
All right, so now we're all in the same room.
When is the next Civic Association meeting when this could take place?
December 22nd.
Okay. So if we deferred it to January, that would be okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ms. Clark?
Yes, that's fine with me.
You have your hand up. I'm calling on you.
Oh, let me see if I can lower it.
That's all right. You can.
Okay.
There you go. I see Jay has his hand up. Is that Mr. Zelaya?
That is, yes, sir.
And I also see, okay, and that's Mr. BC is Mr. Carpenter, and he has his hand up. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I think I put my hand down now. Well,
all right.
I think I've already made my statement.
You made your statement, and it's just slow to respond. Your hand is still up, but I won't call on you anymore. Mr. Zelaya, did you wish to?
Please. So what I was going to state here was that we have pretty much unanimous support from all the adjoining neighbors and on every direction, with the exception of the rear, because we were not able to reach them in our visits. And all the information that was released on the staff report, as far as grading plans, plat, future proposed plat, elevations, renderings, color renderings, room sizes, home size, setbacks, and everything is exactly everything that we have to date to share with anyone. Therefore, Mr. Carpenter's request is understood, but all the information set here is what we would give them anyway. And so we don't have anything additional other than we went through the extent of providing color renderings, 3D modeling, landscaping details, room sizes, official plats from a civil engineer, height dimensions.
Are you talking about the materials in the staff report?
Correct. And
Yes.
therefore, so I am not sure what deferring would do if we have everything on this meeting that we have to say or give. We have nothing more than what is on this report that I understand from staff was given a while ago to
Mr. Zelaya,
everyone.
Mr. Zelaya, the purpose of meeting with the Civic Association is so that the members of the Civic Association can talk to you about the proposal, and if they have any questions, they can ask you, and you can explain it to them.
Just one question: with all the data that we have on this presentation from the city and full unanimous staff support, beyond this, we have nothing further to offer as far as information. So the information speaks for itself.
Mr. Zelaya, are you saying you're not willing to meet with the Civic Association?
No, that's not what I'm saying. One bit, actually, we reached out via phone and email. I was just.
So you would be willing to go to their December 22nd meeting and talk it over with them?
We are. I just was hoping not to defer because all the information is set herein, and we are all looking at it on real time, and this was disseminated per the staff report, and they set the placards and all that, and unfortunately they sent their letters in a day ago or so, which now unfortunately they're requesting a deferment, when I suppose they could have reached out sooner and maybe we could have solidified this a different way. But a deferment would really, we've been working with Stephen Rissy and Blake and everyone down at the city for a very long time on this. And I don't feel that a deferment would really benefit in any way.
We value the input of neighbors and civic associations on projects. So if you're willing to meet, that would be excellent. Are you available to meet that day?
I have to look at my calendar at this moment, but obviously that's a few days before the holidays, naturally.
All right, we could, does the Civic Association meet in January? Would that be more convenient?
Again, my intent is to try to get through any questions that may be posed through this meeting to try to avoid any deferment if possible.
So I think, I mean, I'm speaking for myself, I think it would be reasonable for you to discuss this project with the Civic Association. I don't know if my colleagues would support that or not, but I would be going in the direction of deferring to January. But certainly I'm just one voice here. Ms. Clark?
I would agree to support that deferment to meet with the Civic Association, and I have not browsed through all of the supplemental material, but I was showing several of the neighbors that either didn't respond or didn't sign. So I think it's imperative that you go back to get the neighbor support to ensure that we're in sync with the neighbors understanding what your proposal is and what their objections are.
Sure, and I can actually share one. The neighbor to the
Wait a minute. I don't think we need details right at this moment. I think we're trying to decide the direction of our meeting. How's the rest of the board feeling with respect to a deferment?
I would support it. I think it's important to meet, as I'm surprised that the Civic Association is meeting 3 days before Christmas, but I think the timing is really good. So as to avoid further delay. But I think it is important. I like the project, but it's an unusually small lot, and it's a lot of house on the lot, and it needs relief from the BZA and as much support from the community as it can muster. And the best way to do that is to talk to a whole lot of people at once in a civic association meeting, whether it's in person or virtual.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Melnick?
so I support a deferral too, for the reasons that Ms. Freshman said.
All right. We are moving in the direction of the deferral so that the applicant can meet with the Civic Association and do additional outreach with the adjoining and abutting neighbors. Is there any, if that's the direction that we're headed in, I'd like to make a motion.
I'll make a motion.
All right.
In the case of use permit V-11715-21-UP1, I move that the Board of Zoning Appeals defer to the January 12th, 2022 meeting for the purpose of neighborhood and civic association outreach.
I'll
Is there a
second.
second? Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Freshman, seconded by Mr. Melnick, to defer to the January 12, 2022 BZA hearing. If you were here, this is for the applicant, if you were here earlier, you would have heard our discussion about the fact that if we have to begin meeting in person, our January date would be actually the 19th. But for the time being, we understand that we'll be meeting on the 12th. So we have a motion to defer to the January 12th hearing. Is there any further discussion? I will call the roll. Mr. Melnick?
Aye.
Ms. Freshman?
Aye.
Ms. Clark?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion to defer to January is approved on a 4-0 vote. Mr. Bowen, will you call the next item, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. The next item is the last case on the agenda. It is case number V-11716-21-UP-1. It is a use permit request by Claudio Odo on behalf of Walter and Cynthia Lewis, the owners, to permit a left side setback of 5.2 feet to the wall of the addition, 4.5 feet to the eave, instead of 8 feet to the wall, 5 feet to the eave, and to permit a left side setback of 2.5 feet and 3.5 feet to the stoop with steps, instead of 5 feet to the stoop with steps as required from the left side property line, regarding a 2-story side addition and front porch on an existing one-family dwelling in the R6 zoning district on the premises known as 1108 North Powhatan Street. Staff recommends that the board adopt the attached proposed resolution granting the use permit request with conditions. Please note that there is supplemental material for this case that came in after the application packets were assembled and printed.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen. Can you describe the supplemental material?
Yes, we did receive one online comment submission with some voicing some concerns in opposition to the project.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? I have one, and this application is requesting a reduction in the left side setback. And in the staff report, there are a number of side setback examples that are less than the required setback. My question is, when I look at the tax map, it seems like there are other properties in this neighborhood that are very close to the property line, but they're not shown as examples. Or maybe I'm reading this wrong. But when I look at the tax map, for instance, the house at 1112, which is the house on the right, adjoining house on the right side, you can't really tell for sure, but that looks very close to the property line. And I see others as well. And I just wondered if if there was a reason why those would not have been used as examples.
Madam Chair, I noticed that Mr. Rissy has his hand raised, so he might have some immediate thoughts on that. And if not, I have a few comments to make after that as well.
All right, Mr. Rissy?
Yeah, I just wanted to express that whenever we give examples, they are just that. We're never going to have a comprehensive list of all of the other lots in the area that have reduced setbacks. We'll typically look for examples that the BZA may have seen before. So that could be why we don't use the more immediate surrounding properties. And we don't have plats of all of the surrounding properties, and that can really limit what we have. Just because it looks close in a plat or in the tax map doesn't mean that it is, and doesn't mean that we have access to a plat that we can certify how close it is.
Yeah, well, in this case, the person that's objecting is making the case that this is much reduced from what's in the neighborhood, and it certainly is less than what any of the side setbacks in the staff's chart is. So it seems like your case just would be stronger if you had these other examples. Ms. Freshman?
Yeah, I think if I'm recalling correctly, the person who objected was a 1016.
Yeah.
And at least when you look at the map, that's pretty close. That's one of the
exactly
houses that's really close.
But
I take the point that the tax map is, we can't take it as gospel. It helps us identify, and certainly in this case, the neighborhood input surrounding is pretty substantial.
Right. All right. Any other questions for staff? Is Mr. Odo here, or the Lewises? I see Cynthia Lewis.
Yes, I'm here. Let's see.
Hi.
Not showing up yet. Good evening.
Yeah, now I see you.
Okay, great. Good evening. I'm Cynthia Lewis. I just wanted to make a couple quick points. First and foremost, I love my neighborhood. I love my street. I love my neighbors. Of the 8 adjacent properties, I received an immediate consent from 7 of them. The one that I didn't know was slower to respond, but I did actually receive a consent from them as well. So I did outreach, and I do personally know 7 of them. So it's a great place to live. I live right near the metro. I live 2 blocks from a park and the trails. We walk and bike a lot. It's really sort of the perfect place. Life is good here on Powhatan Street. I moved here in 2009. I had moved many, many times because of my career, and this was going to be another 3 or 4 year stop for us. It turned out that my only child, my daughter, ended up moving here within that time. She got married, she had 2 babies, and I retired. And we want very much to make this our forever home. She's only 1.5 miles from me. She lives right near Nottingham School. So this is absolutely where we want to stay. We've made some improvements to our property already. This would kind of make it, would sort of seal the deal for us. And so we're hoping, obviously, very much that the board approves this for us. But I did want to say that I do have strong support from everyone that is touching. As a matter of fact, Mr. Bowen, I realized just recently that you didn't have the consent from the 8th neighbor. And I did just email that to you. So I'd hope that you could share that as well with the board. Thank you.
What's the address of the neighbor that
1105 Quantico?
It's the Aaronsons. I'm sorry, I don't have it. Is it on the, I can look real quick. Oh, there it is. Oh my gosh, I have my glasses on.
The one at 1105 Quantico was the one that I thought was uncertain. But I
Yes,
don't.
she was.
How'd your
but then
back door?
I actually didn't. I was out raking or doing some yard work, and the husband came down and he said, "I'm so sorry. We've had your consent on our table for 4 or 5 days." And I guess I didn't make it clear that I had a time constraint. So he said, we signed this, and I apologize that it took us a few days to get it back to you. So he provided it to me right away. I just didn't realize that you guys didn't have it. So I apologize.
So
for
that's
that.
11:05. Got it. All right.
Mr. Bone, could you confirm that for me?
Yes, 1105 North Quantico Street
Thank
was
you.
the address listed.
Yeah.
All right. So Ms. Lewis, in your retirement, I assume you're going to be running for Civic Association president.
Actually, I'm pretty active in our Madison Manor communities. It's a great little neighborhood.
You're a great
best place we've lived.
booster. You're a great booster for your neighborhood.
Thank you.
Any questions for the applicant?
Madam Chair, I had a question because it looks like some of the neighbors reported the problems they've had with water runoff or flooding. And I just wondered if there was a plan with the project for addressing that.
If I might comment on that, this is Glenn McCullough. I'm an architect here also in Arlington and working with the Lewises on the project. Yeah, the idea of this addition is to put it on the high side of the lot that slopes to the right, if you're looking at it from the front, to minimize that influence. Really think that the drainage path from the upper tier, I think the neighbor that objected was talking about some of the projects up on Quantico, that up on the hill, right, the top of the hill, that as they reduce the amount of soil available, could add to the runoff. But we are clearly on the very low side of that. We are on the runoff side and not contributing to any added runoff in any way. Especially since the addition is on the sort of uphill side. The drainage trough, if you will, goes through the backyard and down to the right. And really, this does not affect the drainage path for any rainwater runoff at all that I'd be able to identify.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McCullough. Any other questions for the applicant?
If there are no speakers, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Mr. Bowen, I don't see any speakers.
No, we have no additional speakers signed up for this case.
All right. Ms. Freshman, go ahead.
I move the Board of Zoning Appeals approve the attached proposed resolution granting the use permit V-11716-21-UP1, subject to the conditions listed.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion by Ms. Freshman, seconded by Ms. Clark to grant the use permit request with conditions. Any further discussion? I will call the roll. Mr. Melnick?
Aye.
Ms. Freshman?
Aye.
Clark? I hear you. Aye. Sorry. Did you vote aye?
Was that for me?
Yeah,
Yes.
did you? I'm sorry.
Yes, I vote aye.
Okay, thank you. And chair votes aye. So that motion passes on a vote of 4-0 to grant the use permit with conditions. That is our last item. That's our last case on our agenda, but we have minutes and other business.
I move approval of the minutes of the November 10, 2021 BZA meeting.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, I will call the roll. Mr. Melnick,
Aye.
Ms. Freshman,
Aye.
Ms. Clark.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Ms. Arthurs is not in attendance tonight. All right, thank you for other business. We need to adopt two alternate dates for our January and March hearings. I move that we adopt January 19 and I've forgotten what the other was. January 19 and March 16 as alternate dates for those months.
Second.
All right. I will call the roll. Mr. Melnick,
Aye.
Ms. Freshman,
Aye.
Ms. Clark,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. So we have two additional alternative dates. Also, we typically do a work session in January. We could certainly use that alternate date as a work session date if we didn't have to meet in person. Would that suit you all?
Either date?
Well, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Then
we would shoot for
whichever isn't the meeting.
Yeah.
Since we have them both blocked off.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. So
Okay.
in January, we'll plan on meeting both the 12th and the 19th. It just depends on, one of them will be a work session and one of them will be a hearing.
And will it be potluck or what?
Will it be Zoom or or in person? We don't know.
Well, I assume that if we have to use the 19th, I mean, that means we're still virtual, right?
Yeah.
I vote for virtual forever.
Virtual is fine with me for
at least for the next year until I can retire.
Oh my God, you're never going to retire, Ms. Freshman.
Well, that's up to the powers that be.
All right. Well, I'll be talking to them.
Ms. Freshman, I consider you to be a power that be.
Oh yeah, right.
That's pretty good.
Be careful what you wish for.
All right.
You guys. I'm worried about this agenda had so many deferrals. I mean, we didn't have a conversation before we started about what the caseload is for January and February.
What is?
Maybe we don't know
Yeah,
February.
what is that?
It's a lot more.
At the moment, I can say that the caseload for January is fairly light. I believe we have 5 applications that are presumably going to be heard. We're waiting on payment on a couple of those. So I think we had at least 2 deferrals to January, perhaps 3 during the meeting today. So that would get us to an agenda of about 8, presumably. In February, we don't know yet.
From November?
Yeah, right. Well, that's good. I mean, gone are the days thus far when we have 18 or 20 or items on the agenda.
Yeah, Steven's very jealous of my tenure as BZA chair.
Well, it's just Mr. Bowen's just very efficient, evidently.
Yeah, apparently.
Yay.
That's all me.
Can I just ask a quick technical question for one of the two of you? It's gone on. I mean, I don't know why I never asked it before, or maybe I never noticed it.
Madam Chair, do you want this to be part of the Madam Chair, do you want this to be part of the recording, or do you want to close the meeting?
Okay. It can be. It's not sensitive. The plats are typically in feet and inches. But the staff recommendations are typically fractions.
I can't hear.
What?
Let me go downstairs and hear you.
I just wondered why that was, or or if I'm mistaken, that plats are generally in feet and inches, because I find myself, and we had a case once where somebody got confused and we actually had to defer because, they were going 12'5" versus 12 feet, whatever it was. But Mr. Rissy, do you have a comment on that?
I do, but Ms. Clark has her hand up and I'll defer to her if she wants to.
Mine is another issue of other business, so you can go ahead and respond to that.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll say that traditionally plats are done by engineers, and engineers use the decimal.
Yeah.
Now, what you see a lot in your packets are site plans, which are done by architects, and architects traditionally use the inches. Exactly. So when we're doing our advertisements, we've always based them on plats because those are certified by an engineer. Architects don't always stamp the drawings that are required for the BZA.
Sure.
So we don't have anything certified with those dimensions. So that's why we use the engineering standard of feet and decimals.
But you're still using the numbers, you're just converting, right?
Sometimes we do convert, yeah. Actually, the case that you had the question on tonight with the, was it 22.7?
22.8, yeah, 12.7.
The architectural site plan had 22 feet 9.5 inches, which comes out to be 22.79, and we can't round up because you'd be closer.
Right.
So we always have to round down. So that's actually how we got the 22.7 for that advertisement.
Well, that's what I was actually studying, because there was another one where I noticed that, and then I realized that it would have come out like 5.25 and you had gone to 2, or I guess it was that direction. And so, I just wondered, it'd just be great if you never had to do that mental gyration.
Or if the United States would join the rest of the world and go metric.
Yep, exactly.
Then we wouldn't have that problem.
Yeah. Once we all go metric, it'll solve itself.
That's right.
All right, Miss Clark, is this something that you're okay in discussing in public? Because we're still
Yes,
recording.
I guess this is an issue related to the notification of civic associations. I know we have the notice that goes out with the neighborhood outreach and explaining what applicants should do, but I don't know if I'm getting them as a civic association because I get notification of all of the cases. But I think it would be very helpful if civic associations were notified when the agendas was done that there's a case in their neighborhood. And then I think maybe we can strengthen some of that language to clarify that individuals should go to their civic association, even though we often hear from groups that say civic associations won't review it. But I think we can at least compile a list of those that we know don't respond. But I think it just would be helpful to have some language in what we send out to the citizens or the applicants saying, notify your civic association. Whether they approve it or not is another case.
What is our practice right now?
I'll take that, Blake.
Yeah. Thanks, Stephen.
Our practice right now is that we, beyond the newspaper, beyond the placards, beyond the mailed notices, we have a opt-in listserv that we send out the applications to anyone that has signed up. We use, I believe it's called Gov Delivery. And Miss Malice, you've actually noticed sometimes when people seem to get notifications before you do, and you were wondering how that happened. So what happens is Jaquay in our office will often send out the Gov Delivery notification to the listserv on the day that we send the notice to the newspaper. So my understanding is that many, but maybe not all, of the civic associations have representatives on that listserv. But I will say the listserv is opt-in and doesn't get reviewed very often. I think that Gov Delivery listserv is something that I inherited. I've added a few names to it over the years, but not a lot. So it could be that we have old contacts for some of the associations. So it's certainly something that we could review. and
If
add
it's,
to.
if it's opt-in, maybe periodically we could just do a blast to all the civic associations, letting them know that they can opt in. And I'm happy to help do the legwork on something like that, if you're willing to do a blast email.
Yeah, that's certainly something that we could discuss at our work session.
At our work session, because
Nice segue.
yeah, let's do that. Ms. Clark, let's do that. Let's chew this. We'll add this to our agenda.
Okay, that's fine.
But I mean, that's a very good, because if they get earlier notice, then they can reach out earlier and and not wait until somebody stumbles across a placard, 2 days before the hearing.
The only concern I would have referring to a listserv is the updates, because some of our civic association listings don't get updated as frequently. But
Does the Civic Federation keep it?
They have representatives on the Civic Federation, but going to the officers or the right person is the key. And I just think, since we list the civic associations at the end of our cases, it would make sense to reach out, because sometimes we have planners reach out with cases and sometimes they don't. But we're trying to get county staff to understand better ways of engaging and working with civic associations across the board.
Yes, on a use permit, not a zoning related use permit, often staff will specifically contact, not a blast, but they'll specifically contact Barcroft and say, this is a use permit in your neighborhood, that kind of thing. Yeah. All right, that's a good one to talk over. I appreciate that. We'll work on that one. Anything else for the good of the group?
Yes, Madam
Merry
Chair.
Christmas, Happy New Year.
For the record, I'll note that I believe that the current language that we give out to all of our applicants was developed before Ms. Clark's time on the board. And so we may want to revisit and tweak the language there as well, with input from current board members who weren't, participating when it was originally drawn up. So that's a slightly different avenue, but something else that we can, look at.
I'm all for it. That's great. Happy holidays to you, Judy, and all of you.
Thank you.
Judy's got the spirit, that's for sure.
And I would like to congratulate Megan on surviving her first meeting.
Yay!
Yes, and doing 3 staff reports, which was way more than I expected.
Excellent. We appreciate it. Thank you, everybody.
The agenda having been completed, the meeting is adjourned.